I'm going to start my recording here. Um, Start, then record. All right. This evening, let me go check my. All right. I think. Okay, so I think that I just closed, hopefully. All right, I'm going to go in and get started. And this evening, we're going to be talking about endocrine disruptors. I think our past presentations, we've talked about heavy metals, some of the, and we've just talked, in that discussion, heavy metals are everywhere. They're in our environment, they're in our foods, they're in the cosmetics that we use especially there is, and heavily in the cosmetics. And so that's why I do encourage people to get, to use as clean as you possibly can, for of cosmetics, making sure that they're third party tested. And you can even either the EGW website using the barcode. Here's Joe. Barcode, you can um, click on that, the, um, oh, the little, oh, I can't even remember the little strip in the end and barcode, I'm sorry, the barcode. And you can get a list of all the ingredients. And I just really would encourage everyone. Let me turn, hi, Jill. Let me turn. Oh, there I am. Hopefully, I didn't have my picture on. I must have my picture on. So everybody can see me. Can everybody see me okay?
It looks like your camera's off. It just has a little, it shows like a little laptop with a circled facing camera, forward
Yeah.
facing camera, but it doesn't show you at all.
No, wonder what happened.
I wonder if mine works.
Yours
Oh.
work. It's just, what if I? This isn't good. Let's see. I don't want an avatar. I want me. Okay. Let's see. Oh goodness. Hopefully this is not good. You know, um, I don't like this. Let's see. Maybe I can just use, um, I'm usually, it's loading something. Okay, maybe I need to sign it to my profile then. Maybe. Um,
Well, it has your name. If you're,
right. So it's not the profile. It has me. You're right. I cancel. I don't want to end this meeting. Um, I'm going to go over to the other computer because you really need to see me.
oh,
I
no
may,
worries. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Especially when I'm doing the presentation, I just really like for folks to see me. So hopefully it's not too noisy.
You go ahead, sis.
Okay, all right. Good to see you, Jill. I'm still eating the crackers. They're so delicious. And I thought what I should have done, I should have taken a picture and posted it on on my website, on my Facebook page, and I did it. They were just so good. They were delicious. I love them all. Oh, Jill, she blessed me and that with some homemade. They were lentil, flaxseed. Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, one was made with flaxseed. The flaxseed. Oh, onion bread. And she also made some coconut granola. So the lentil, the flaxseed, there were some others.
Onion bread. Wow, that
Oh,
sounds yummy.
yeah, they were. I mean, everything was just wonderful. I just really loved everything. It was good. So I was highly blessed. And I tell you. And I said, oh my goodness, you can eat real good food, right?
And it's healthy. That even makes it, that's like the cherry on top.
Yes, yes, it tastes good. And Denise is joining, so let me let Denise in. Let everybody know I'm changing because it's important that you see me. Hopefully I can
Sister
get trained
Jill,
on.
if Sister Jill is unmuted, I couldn't hear her if she was talking.
Okay. Oh yeah, are you muted, Jill? She is not muted, but we can't hear you for some reason. Did you join with your join with computer audio?
Recording in progress.
Okay. So I'm going to switch computers here.
We could see you were moving like you're speaking, but we can't hear you still, sis.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you,
now
sis
you can see
Jacqueline.
me.
Yeah,
All
we can
right.
hear and see you.
All right. Jill, I still can't hear you. Did you connect with your audio? Or do you don't have speakers in your audio, do you? Well, no, that's not the audio. That would be in your voice. Can you hear us? She can hear us, but we can't hear her. Let me let me um, let me select my view so I can get started. I don't know. I think it happened last time, so I'm not really sure. Word notes, AI companion. I'm not really sure what happened. All right, let me go and download my PowerPoints. I'm gonna have to download them from my website now because I had them on the other computer. Hi, Sister Denise. Good to see you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, hello, sis. Sis, check your WhatsApp. I sent you a message. Sis Denise,
Okay, I'll check.
thanks.
So hopefully it's not too noisy here. I'm gonna go in and get started with my presentation. Let me do a little share.
And you can't hear any noise in the background, sis Jacqueline,
Can't.
so you're
Oh,
good.
okay, great. Awesome. All right. Good evening, everyone. We're going to talk about endocrine disruptors today. And these are very, very important. And I know the last couple of sessions we've been talking about heavy metals. And of course, in that discussion, we saw that even within the environment, from the grass that we play in, to the makeup that we wear, to the detergents and the cleaning products that we use within our homes, we're getting and even some of the foods that we consume, they are heavily laden with metals. Specifically our ocean fish, mercury is a big one in that. And so there's so many toxins because of our environment, so many toxins within our environment. And today we're going to talk a little bit about endocrine disruptors. And the reason why is that uh, the endocrine disruptors are actually enabled through chemical interaction, and which is a huge danger. And and like I said, so many chemicals from the grass that we walk upon, the makeup that we use, to the detergents and the soaps and everything, household cleaners and so pesticides, herbicides, the things that we spray in our home for our deodorizers and disinfectants. All of these have chemicals in them, and we're going to talk a little bit about those chemicals today. So let me get started with my presentation. Actually, I want to start okay, so, what are EDCs, which are endocrine disrupting chemicals defined. They are a broad range of chemicals that interact with our endocrine system, with the endocrine system of both humans and animals, and they produce a wide range of adverse effects. Some populations, that are especially sensitive to the environmental hazards, and that's why endocrine disrupting or disruptors are so important, is that these populations are affected by this. And that population examples children, even in embryo, in utero, children, persons with genetic vulnerability, and minority groups. Children's vulnerability is related to their reduced ability to metabolize and excrete toxins, rapid growth and development, and the fact that children have more time to develop chronic disease than adults. Minority groups tend to reside in areas where they are exposed to the higher level of toxins, as well as through their foods and just everything within their environment. So EDCs, of what they're referred to, actually, let me just stop sharing. I really want to get into a PowerPoint. Let me bring up the PowerPoint. I don't like this, I don't like this display. So just give me a second here. I had everything set up on my other laptop. Of course, when I had to change over, that's okay though. Yeah, I like it better when I can use the presentation. Because we're going to kind of look at two today, because I have my information that I kind of want to go over, split between the two. My editing enabled. And so let me start my, let me go back to share. Okay, now I'm going to start my slideshow from the beginning. Okay. Endocrine disrupting chemicals, they are a broad range of chemicals that interact with the endocrine system of humans and animals and produce a range of adverse side effects. Our vulnerable populations, children, even in embryo, pregnant women, even in embryo, we are passing these toxins within our bodies onto our children, and then with the environment. And so the vulnerable populations of people would be children, persons with genetic vulnerability, as well as minority groups. Children's vulnerability is related to their ability to metabolize, their reduced ability to metabolize and excrete toxins, rapid growth and development, and the fact that children have more time to develop chronic disease than adults. Minority groups tend to reside in areas where they're exposed to higher level of toxins, and that's what makes these groups so vulnerable. EDCs interfere with our hormonal system by mimicking or blocking our natural hormones. And when that happens, it disrupts our bodily functions. Many EDCs, such as DDT, PCBs, lipophilic, and bioaccumulate in fat tissue, making them difficult to eliminate from the body. So that's right. They are lymphophilic, and they bioaccumulate in the fat tissues of our body, which makes them even more difficult to eliminate from the body. So what are the implications? I'm not going to even go into the question. I typically ask the question, but until it may not. Effects. So these are some of the effects of endocrine disrupting chemicals. They act as estrogen receptors, androgen receptors, or thyroid receptor, and agonists or antagonists affecting sexual development, gene expression, metabolism, and hormone signaling. Exposure to EDCs has been associated with altered timing of puberty, leading to early or delayed sexual maturation. We see that our young girls are starting their menstrual cycle earlier, and even the growth of their in boys, you see it in their growth of their hair, their voice is maturing, as well as their sexual maturation. The breast on little girls, you see that they're developing at earlier ages now. EDCs can induce epigenetic changes that not only affect the exposed individual, but could be passed on to future generations. That is the critical thing. We are passing, especially, that's why it's so critical for women that are childbearing age. They can pass these disruptors onto the future generation. Some EDCs like BPA has been linked to metabolic disruptions, including obesity, diabetes, by affecting insulin response and fat cell development. And of course, we know that that's because insulin, it's a hormone, and these are hormone disruptors. Sources. These are some of the sources of endocrine disruptors. Food packaging. Oh, let me go back. I really need to get to that one. Slideshow from the beginning. Try to minimize. I want to pick up okay. Food packaging, paper and board, nonstick cookware is nonstick cookware is one of the most for heavy metals and all of these the toxins, especially when they start when you scrape them. At that point, it's just the clothing, textile, even within our clothing, surfactants for drilling, mining, and oil recovery, aerospace industry, firefighters, photography, pesticides, cosmetics. EDCs are found in everyday products such as BPA in plastics and PFAs in nonstick cookware, leading to widespread exposure. We look at our paints and coatings, cleaning detergents, polishes, protecting sprays. They're everywhere in our environment, and we cannot evade them. Vulnerability during early development. Exposure to EDCs during critical development periods, such as in utero and early childhood, has been linked to increased risk of congenital malformations and later life diseases. And that's why even sometimes we can say, well, they've lived a clean diet, they've done this, but what we don't know is what has been passed down to us. Yes, your BPAs in flame retardant clothing or furniture. That is correct, sister. Yes. Adverse EDCs, health effects are enhanced when periods of exposure coincide with both the formation and differentiation of organ systems in early development. EDCs can be transferred from mothers to child through transplacental route, so that just means the placenta, and breast milk. Let me ask a question. How can public health strategies protect pregnant women and young children from EDC exposure during these sensitive developmental windows? Anybody have any ideas? And you can come off your speaker and speak if you do.
Maybe regulating better guidelines and the ingredients they use that they put out for sale. I think the guidelines need to be more detailed in what is in the product, and have warnings. If they're going to put it in the actual product, at least warn the people that are using the product. This has a EDC or whatever,
Yeah.
So
you're right, sister. Go on, Sister Annette. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I thought you were done. Go on.
Oh, no, I was done. I was like, that was my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Actually, yes. And I was thinking another thing, and I'm hoping that we will have opportunity to do this through Give Manna, especially in those environments that are very vulnerable. Education. If you do a survey, you're going to find that a lot of these, even breastfeeding moms don't even realize this. They don't realize that can even be transferred from mom to baby through the placenta. Some of them do, most don't. And so I was just thinking especially where they have the clinics for Planned Parenthood. To me, what should be a part of Planned Parenthood is preparing mom to conceive, because there are things that can be done, trying to do a detoxification of metals. Jill is coming back. Hopefully I hope she can detoxification of metals, seeing what those levels are, and getting her body in shape for conception. And you know, and of course we cannot, because they're everywhere, we can minimize our exposure, because even if you're cleansing your body, what's the point if you're not changing the exposure to these to these chemicals, and changing that exposure, changing the cookware that you eat in, changing how you dispose of your food, changing what you put your foods in, changing your medications, because a lot of the over-the-counter products that we use for headaches and other things, they're super huge risk. And so many other things, they're everywhere. So there are strategies that can be incorporated to reduce the exposure, but we also want to make sure that we have a good detox. The thing is, once you become pregnant women are not advised to detox, because that can be very harmful to the fetus as well. Because you think you're eliminating all of those toxins in your body, and what they're going to do, they're going to go right to that placenta. Okay. Challenges studying EDCs. So EDCs are often studied individually, but the mixture or cocktail effect of multiple EDCs acting together remains poorly understood. So what this means is that you could see a study of one chemical maybe at a time, but we know that that's not realistic. We're exposed to many chemicals. And so that's what the cocktail effect is. You know, we want to see what are the impacts. We need to study the overall impact of the combination of the cocktail, of the mixture of all of these disruptors. There are some that are more harmful than others at lower doses. And so, but even though okay, so some are less harmful and some can be more harmful. But one of the things is that, someone may say, well, that's just a lower dosage or lower exposure risk, but it's cumulative. You want to look at it over time, it's accumulating, and it's not getting any better. The cocktail effect. So here's some of the health effects of endocrine disruptors. The reproductive issues, reduced fertility, male and female reproductive tract abnormalities, skewed male-female sex ratio changes in hormone levels. And I hate to say this, but I really feel that this is affecting some of the various things that we're seeing going on in some of the sexual orientations that we're seeing. Things, early puberty, brain and behavior problems, impaired immune functions, and various cancers. And that's boy, I can't speak enough regarding the impaired immune functions. All of these things are just high risk. I want to look at one other thing. Not ready for questions yet. I'm going to bring up one other presentation I want to go through. Go back. Before I do that, are there any questions? Anything that anybody want to say? Is this new to anyone? Does this surprise you?
I wanted just to mention, I wanted to kind of piggyback with what you were saying about some people saying that, things are contaminated or toxic already. I hear it all the time where they're like, oh, you're just too picky. Everything's contaminated. You shouldn't really look into it. It is what it is type of deal. But just because, even the air that we breathe, because of the supposedly, cloud seeding that they do, and the heavy metals that they throw in the air to try and seed the clouds for rain, and all of that stuff we already breathing in, right? So if we don't have control over that. But
Right.
if we can control what we put on our skin, what we
Right.
put in our bodies when we eat, that's when we need to look into those things, not to continue to add on to the toxins that we're already consuming just by breathing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very important for us to look into what it is that we put on our bodies and in our bodies so that we can not toxify ourselves more than what we are. But
Right.
that was my comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even some of the environmental toxins, and I know this may not be everybody's, but there's things that we can do from a lobbying or from a policy perspective. Become advocates. Partner with those groups who, like EGW, yes, become advocates against certain things within your environment. How close these factories are within your home, how close they put some of these toxins close to our schools that our children are going to, and some of the things that they're using in their herbs crop. Because if we don't have Luthers, I'm going to go back to a Luther, right? If we don't have the Luthers that are willing to step out and speak against, and some other things is educate your community, because everyone don't know this, unfortunately. Even so, the ones of most of high intelligence don't know these things because they too just take it for granted. And you're so right, Sister Annette. We can protect our own environment. What chemicals are we putting on our lawn that yet we spray our lawn, and then our kids are outside barefoot playing, rolling in the ground, and they should. But we have put chemicals on our grass, fertilizers that we're using in our garden beds, and all of these things. What are some of the things that we can improve within our home? Non-toxic detergents, because this stuff is getting in our clothes. So there are so many things. Looking at just trying to transition from plastics to glass. Glass is expensive, but just a little at a time, as much as you can. And I do think I was just thinking about this, really focusing on waste. How can we, because I asked myself this question, how can I reduce my cooking so that I'm not wasting as much, or I have as much to store away, right? And because I say that because waste is huge here in just worldwide. How much food we're throwing away, how much food that we're and so if we cook enough for just what we're going to eat that day, then we won't have to worry about putting so much away in these containers, right? And I know that puts more of a burden on preparation every day, and because we do overcook so that we can have leftovers. And again, trying to transition to more back to glassware. If you're going to use cookware, minimally, as because it's and try. Unfortunately, the investment in healthier. I'm not going to even say that there is a set of cookware that is 100% toxin free, but at least better cookware is if you can try to save up. It's expensive. It's very expensive. And when and if you just get one scratch on that non-cookware, it's gone. Because every time you cook, all of that stuff is absorbing into your foods. That's the hazard of it. We see that Alzheimer's and dementia is all level high, and it continue to grow. Some of these I'm going to say most of them are the result of this. Not getting, not understanding the heavy metal or the capacity of these endocrine disruptors in your system. And then and what happens is that we're also misdiagnosing ourselves. We're experiencing menopause symptoms so much earlier even now, and how much of that is due to the chemical constituents that are in our body from our environment, right? And so there's a lot of it. Yeah, we can help control our own personal environment by buying more clean products. And that includes the products for our detergents that we use to clean our clothes, the products. And I think last week we went over natural ingredients for house cleaning. That's a big one because a lot of our these chemicals are coming through that. So let me look at, I want to look at one more slide. I'm going to share my screen. And this is really rather from a toxicology and from it's from another doctor, but I just want to go over some of the things, a lot of case studies. And I thought that this was really, really critical. Slideshow. I want to go from the beginning. I don't know what that did. So let me stop share. I guess I may have to, let me just bring it up one more time. So I'm gonna do the share PowerPoint. All right. Well, that's the end of it. I see what I did. Oh, I may have to close this one down. Yeah, so okay, now I got it. All right. I had to close it. Wasn't gonna let me keep them up at the same time. So I just want to look at some of these things, and I'm sure that these are some old studies, case studies, hormonal contraceptives. They're the ultimate endocrine disruptor. May 1960, the Food and Drug Administration approved it. You know, some of these things, patients started reporting blood clots, and we know pulmonary embolisms, the synthetic estrogen, again, approved by the FDA, BPA. The chemical industry discovered that it was excellent for hardening epoxy resins and plastic polycarbonate. Estimated use, and this has increased. The estimated use is 6 billion pounds. We know that has more than tripled. And of course, it indicates the effects on the endocrine system occur at a very low dose. But well, what about the accumulative dose over periods of time? Herbicides, atrazine, used to kill broadleaf grassy weeds. They were banned in the European Union. Most widely used in herbicides in the United States. Atrazine feminizes male frogs, and that was a study by disrupting the endocrine system. Get this word, atrazine feminizes male frogs by disrupting the endocrine system. Here's some other studies, and I think I talked about this, the various the hormones. So these are some of the chemical EDCs, hormones, natural and synthetic plant constituents, pesticides, compounds used in the plastic industry and in consumer products, other industrial byproducts and pollutants, DDT, bisphenol A, polychlorinated biphenyls, biphenyls, polybromated diphenyl ethers, and phthalates. I call it phthalates. The endocrine system. So let's kind of look at the endocrine system. This is the importance of it, and I think as you understand our endocrine system, this should heighten your understanding and awareness, and why this is, when something is disrupting your endocrine system, what it's doing. So the endocrine system is the body's chemical communication system. It uses the blood vessels to move the chemicals throughout the body to communicate with different cells of the body. The endocrine system regulates metabolism, growth, development, puberty, and organ functions. Glands that excrete hormones. Look at our pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland, our pancreas, ovaries, the testes. All of these glands are impacted with endocrine disruptors. Here are some examples of functions of these glands. The pineal gland, the brain, melatonin and sleep, and that's its function. The hormone is going to be melatonin, the function for sleep. The pituitary gland, there's another brain gland. The hormone is a growth hormone. Growth and cell it's related to the growth and cell reproduction. Prolactin, milk production and sexual gratification. Prolactin is a hormone, the thyroid stimulating hormone. It stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete T3 and T4. Luteinizing hormone. This has to do with female ovulation. Male regulates and the male testosterone. All of these glands, and these are the hormones that are being affected with these endocrine disruptors. The thyroid gland in the neck, thyroxine, metabolism. This is triiodothyronine, DT3, that's again metabolism. The function is for metabolism. The adrenal gland, glucocorticoids, it affects the glucose uptake. Adrenal gland, that's our fight or flight response. Actually, the adrenal gland, and this is a hormone. The pancreas, the hormone is insulin. It regulates glucose. Ovaries, for the females, progesterone. Pregnancy, muscles, relaxation, range of effects. Estrogens, that's our growth and sexual, it has the growth and sexual characteristics. And the testes, of course, we know that that's the male. The hormone is testosterone. Muscle mass, bone density, and sexual maturation is that function. So as a crude weapon, I think that this is so, as a crude weapon, as a caveman's club, the chemical barrage has been hurled against the fabric of life. That is so true. The control of nature is a phrase conceived in arrogance, born of the Neanderthal, age of biology, and the convenience of man. A small dose. So this was from the toxicology. I don't know about you, but I find this very alarming. And what's so alarming is our lack of awareness about it. So I'm going to open it up for discussions. I want to ask questions. Are there any questions about what we just went over? But my second question is, do you find this information alarming? And how, over what I have gone through, how do you see any of this impacting you?
I'll go first. This is
Okay.
extremely alarming.
Yeah.
I've been going through menopause and everybody keeps telling me, or the doctors, my gynecologist, HRT for the sweating, for the night sweats, for the this, for the that. I'm like, I am not going on HRT. I don't care what you say, I'm not doing it. It's interesting because I would love to know what natural products work, because I've tried the 8 laws of health, the walking, the sunshine, the everything else, but everybody's pushing, completely pushing either HRT treatment of some sort. There's different drugs, there's different patches, and it seems like that's the only solution that I am getting from my doctors.
Yeah. And it is not, and I could do a one-on-one with you, Sister Denise, when you're ready. I did not do HRT. I did not. In fact, that was one of the big drivers for me to go to a vegan diet. And one of the things, let me tell you this, Asian women do not experience hot flashes.
What?
They sure don't.
How is that possible?
Something that they eat in their diet.
Wow.
Yeah, something that they eat in their diet. And it is soy. There are other things.
I never experienced it. I never had hot flashes.
You know what, Sister Shanine, really?
Never. What I did was, well, I had my period up until a long time. It's put a very long time. And when it just stopped. It didn't even trickle down. It was a heavy period like I had when I was in my 20s up until the time I stopped having it. And then I said, well, I saw everybody else going through it. My mother went through it. And I was like, oh, no, I am not doing this. So I took, not that this was for everybody, but I know for me, I did wild jam and I took it in a capsule form, and
Did you
a
say wild
triple,
yam?
yes, wild
Yes,
jam,
that is one.
and a triple iodine.
Mhm.
And there's different types of iodine, but I took all three in a very high dose, and I would take that for like 2 weeks, and then I would go off it for 2 weeks. And I did that for maybe off and on for a couple of years, but I never experienced hot flashes. What happened with me, my body got very cold, like the opposite, but then I would get like a chill, but then that stopped. So I never had any of the normal, like dryness or any type of, what do you call that? I guess I never experienced anything that menopause
Yeah.
brings with, I hear people say women say they go through. I just never experienced it.
Don't
And I
share
don't
that with
eat a lot of
everybody else.
I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what happened to me, but I know I took that because I had suffered enough. I had really bad not pregnant, periods. I had cramps. Very, very bad. Even when I was older, it was horrible. So I suffered for years. But I don't know why. I was waiting for it to happen, but it never happened. So I don't know.
That's good. You know,
Mhm.
I did start experiencing the hot flashes, and another thing, you're going to have to totally come off dairy because of the hormones in the milk, that in the animal heart, I would say, I'm not going to say come off of dairy. You're going to have to eliminate all animal products because they're full of hormones. If you're not getting the vegetarian or those products that are from pasture, not cage free, but pasture raised. If you're not, because they give animals they give their animals hormone injections as well as antibiotics, things, and I mean, and on a major level. So that was one of the things I did and try to encourage people to do, just come off of um, all animal products whatsoever, because these are hormones. The other thing is look at our endocrine disruptors, cleaning up your environment. Um, and two, getting an understanding, just you're taking your body through what do you would call them? I do want to go through a few things that taking your body through a detoxification, understanding what that detoxification process need to look like. From a lead perspective or heavy metals perspective, as well as some of those endocrine disruptors, and then redoing things within our environment. Because what point is it to detox if I'm not changing anything in my environment? And I'm talking about my close environment. If I think that is so critical in eliminating um, some of our exposures. And we can mitigate some of those exposures. Very good. Anything from anyone else? If you look at the effect, and sometimes I look at that and I think, no wonder we have such a high from a body perspective. And I'm not providing this as an excuse. We have such a high, even from a body perspective, of you look at the hormones, the reproductive organs that affect it, why we were having so many sexual orientation issues. And that's my question, how much of that is related to these chemical disruptors? Yeah. Yeah. It really made me think, when I saw it, because you don't really think of the endocrine system, but all of our organ systems God created for certain functions. And that is the exact reason that, I think that's the other thing is when I think we first started, I asked the question about, why do you eat? What's the purpose of food? And there are various reasons. And I think that sometimes in the middle of life, we forget that the principal reason for our foods, and that should be our standard and our guideline, is to fuel the body, promote health and wellness in the body. That should be the principal guideline in my diet and why I eat the foods that I choose to eat, and why do I avoid the foods that I do avoid, because processed foods are heavy in these disruptors. The packaging, um, I mean, we need fresh, fresh food. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. I'm not going to go through everything because I'm going to give you all a spreadsheet. Are there any questions? Oh, Sister Denise, too. I do have something called progesterone that I have some of those, and I can send that to you if you want to um, send me your address, and we can try you to use that and see, and I'll give you instructions for usage of it and see if those help. But you're experiencing hot flashes now, Denise?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah. I'll send you that. And that's an
Thank
oil.
you,
It is
Sister
an oil.
Jackie.
Yes, that's an oil. But another thing is look and see how you can increase increase your soy products. I really like what do I do? I do the soybeans, and I do the organic, and making sure that they're not genetically modified, which was some of the crops here in the United States. What made the soy so bad here in the United States is because they were so genetically modified. And so you want to, in all of your foods when you can, you want to, you want to, you want to look for foods that are not genetically modified, and you want to make sure that they are organic as much as you can, because the more now here in America, organic does not mean that they don't have any toxins in them. Organic means that they're at the very low dosage possible, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, look it up. And I
Oh
just
my
said
gosh.
it that way, because when you look at the word organic, and you have to go by what the FDA, what they determine or define as organic, because our organic in the United States does not compare to Australia's organic. But even organic is better than there's some foods you do want to be organic because you don't, that means your dosage of some of these pesticides and these ingredients are low. And I think that's why it's so important that we should try to do as much of our own growing of our foods that we can. Check in your area for local farmers. Check for those that are very conscientious about elimination of pesticides and herbicides and synthetic fertilizers for those crops. Those that really believe in the natural processes for those crops, and for regenerative farming, those farms that are doing where they're using farming strategies to replenish the nutrient density of our soil, and to make sure that growth or that yield or whatever it is of its ultimate or the utmost capacity as far as its vitamin and mineral content as possible. I am becoming more and more, and let me step back. We're looking at ourselves, but the target, you think about this, think about the children, think about children. And one of the reasons why, we're feeding our children a lot of these foods. The thing is, their body is not as developed as ours to even handle it. That's why that's why they're more vulnerable to the exposure to some of these endocrine disruptors. And then with those disruptors being in their body, it means that they're going to be in their body longer. And then by the time that they become adult age is when they're going to start seeing some of the effects of those endocrine disruptors being in their body for that length of time will start being displayed in the form of illnesses, ADHD, and some of the learning disabilities that we have, that we see our children with. There's just so much why it's so important to train. And we looked at those environments that were vulnerable. There are certain socioeconomic populations that are more vulnerable because they're only exposed to those foods that are full of the disruptors, that are the most contaminant. And then the poor education. And as I indicated, a pregnant mom, all she's doing is just feeding it to her child through the placenta and through the breast milk after baby's born. And breast milk is still I will still say the breast milk is the best milk. And that is one of the reasons I just feel like Planned Parenting should take it further in helping families plan for pregnancy by changing their health and their lifestyle. Getting our bodies, detoxifying some of this stuff out of our bodies, so that because the more these contaminants are out of our bodies, the more we have better chances of our little ones of not being born with some of these impairments. And you all know what some of these impairments are. So education is so much needed in these populations, and children and women are the most vulnerable. The elderly are another area. They're very vulnerable. And the lower class. What are some ways, let me ask this, just by what are there any questions about the material I just went over? No questions? Jill, were you ever able to speak? You're muted now. Come off and unmute your phone and see if you can speak now, or your computer. There you go. No. Did you join with audio? Did you join with audio? Go to your audio, go to your little microphone, trying to tell, and see that check to see if it's on, see what you have your microphone setting to at, because we still can't hear you. You're on mute now. I don't know what yours,
Mine is on microphone RA, but I'm not sure if that's just the main setting for my computer.
That's mine too. Okay, so Jill, do you see can you select microphone array, ARRAY? You're muted. So yeah, touch your microphone to unmute. Do you see your little microphone? It should be at the bottom of your screen.
Mute.
There you go. We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yay!
Oh, yay. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any questions?
I do have a question, Sister Jackie. So are GMOs, ultra processed food, these I'm just going to call them endos because I can't say the whole thing. So these endos and these metals, is there any study that shows that these can be some sort of gateway to addictions of other sorts, drug addictions and alcohol addictions because of the chemical use and the buildup of chemicals in the system?
I haven't seen any, but I would think that they would indirectly because they affect your hormones.
Yeah, I was thinking that as you were talking, I'm like, people always talk about, oh, marijuana is a gateway drug or this one's a gateway drug. But guess what? This type of lifestyle and food and these type of metals and what we're doing every day is a gateway because there are a lot more people that are prone to mental challenges and prone to addictions lately.
Yes. Yes, you're right. And I would say the mental challenges, because I feel like all of these heavy metals are affecting your brain, the chemistry in your brain. And then the other challenge is because of the hormones that are being chemicals, there are natural hormone chemicals that are being disrupted. I went over all the ones. Let's go back to this one brain. I mean, there were several that are related to the brain. Let me go back and share that. And here, this. Endocrine. So let me go back. I want to go to my slideshow, this one, slideshow from the beginning. I want to go to some of the hormones, go back to the hormones that are being affected. So these are the glands. The pineal gland is in the brain, melatonin, sleep. Then the pituitary gland, that's the growth hormone. and the growth and cell reproduction. I would think because it's the brain, the pituitary gland, and then here prolactin, thyroid stimulating, and these have more to do with the thyroid. But you look at the prolactin and sexual gratification. Well, all of this is going to be, to me, brain related. That's, specifically the sexual gratification part of it. And the thyroid, maybe not so much the thyroid, but because of the hormone being disrupted, to me, I see the emotions being the emotions as well as the psyche. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just never saw the link until just now. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Think of everything as hormones. Insulin is a hormone. Our body, we're and look at this one. The adrenal gland, the kidney, adrenals. This is our fight or flight response that's being disrupted, right? The hormone. This is the hormone that is being disrupted. And that's going to go back to the psyche. Yeah. If you look at, and sure, this is just a small list. If you look at the hormones and then the brain, just the brain functions as well as, look at all of these. Yeah. I still like this. As crude a weapon as a caveman club, the chemical barrage, our chemical barrage has been hurled against the very fabric of our lives. I think that's why you have so many kids born. They're born with ADHD and all of these mental. I just can't. Every time I think about it, it makes me want to cry. Yeah, it makes me really want to cry. Let me go back to this one. I just want to bring up my, I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping that to give Manna, and not just to give Manna, through other organizations, that we will have opportunity to educate, let me just bring up my other slide here. Share. My slideshow from the beginning. This is our vulnerable population: children, women, childbearing women, babe in utero. I just showed how even that this can be passed or transmitted, through the placenta, through even breastfeeding, persons with genetic vulnerabilities and minorities. Children, because it's related, they're vulnerable to their reduced ability to metabolize and excrete the toxins. Because of their rapid growth and development, and the fact that children have more time to develop chronic diseases than adults. Minority groups tend to reside in areas that are exposed to higher level of toxins. That's what makes them so vulnerable as well, minority groups. And then I just believe that a lot of them have not been educated. The education has to be simple and something that they can relate to. And I'm a believer, don't just educate, provide tools, provide resources to these groups. We've got to stop the bleeding somewhere, because it's not going to get any better. We're continuously going from 5G. What's the next G? Are we 7G? There are just so many toxins within our environment, and we have to come up with methods and methodologies to reduce our exposure to them. And then also methodologies and ways to excrete these things from our body. That is very endocrine disrupting chemicals. Think about that the next time you put on your deodorant. I hate to say that. Endocrine EDCs interfere with our hormonal system by mimicking or blocking our natural hormones. So that means when they're blocked or they're mimicked, they're blocked my natural hormones. And the result of that is going to be disrupting bodily functions.
So what are you using instead of deodorant?
Oh, there's some, you can make your own deodorant as well. You can make your own deodorant with essential oils. There are other products, there are natural
Baking
products.
soda.
Yeah.
You can just use the essential oils.
Yeah. There are a lot of things that you can make your own. I use, I use a deodorant. And that you can also purchase some deodorants as well. They're going to be more expensive, but it's worth it. And I had friends that say, some of my friends, they tried using some of those deodorants and it didn't take away their odor. Well, this is the thing. If your body odor is that bad, you need a great detox. And I'm gonna say that I have an infrared sauna, and I started using this by trial. And you don't have to have an infrared sauna to detox. I purchased one from a friend of mine when we were all in the health and wellness business, and I use it for people, for clients that that will qualify for it. But before I use it, I'm going to use it myself. And I noticed that even after after I started doing my detox in the infrared sauna, and the infrared sauna will detox heavy metals. And the very first thing I noticed, I remember once I thought I haven't put on deodorant in like 3 or 4 days, and I had no body odor. And so what that told me, a lot of my body odor was coming from my body that was contaminated, a contaminated body.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that is especially people that are on the standard American diet. They don't do traditional juicing or fasting or cleansing. And there are some people don't even drink as much water as they should even. I mean, you'd be surprised for some people how often they drink, not even the minimum amount of water they're supposed to intake daily. All of these are the result. God gave us foods, the diet that we were given, um, the liquid that we were supposed to use to hydrate and cleanse the body was water. And he did it for a reason. Even though our water is becoming contaminated, there are filters and things that we can do. Yeah, it is. But there are filtration systems that we can get to eliminate, because even through our drinking system, we're getting heavy metals. We're exposed to heavy metals in that. One of the things I did look up, I didn't have a list of them, but there is a list of heavy metals. I mean, you can do your own heavy metal testing, and I think it uses a strand from your hair. And the kits just were not that expensive. So if you're interested in it, I don't know how much it would cost for your doctor to do a heavy metals testing on you to see, just how bad you are, or if you need the there is a medical treatment called I think it's chelating. I said it's chelation. And from what I've heard, that it is a very how would you say well, you will get sick probably, but it must be done under medical physician. And when you're that bad, and if some people have gotten that bad heavy metal detox, I mean, it has really been bad where they have needed that treatment. And they'll go through because what comes with that can be the diarrhea, the throwing up. I mean, you think about somebody detoxing from drugs, literally, how sick they get, until they get, bypass that condition, and then their bodies start coming into restoration. There are some foods that I wanted to go over with you that naturally have that effect. I don't think I sent it to myself. Let me see what I sent to myself from work or from my school. Are there any questions? Let me ask, are there any surprises? Does this information surprise anybody? No? So let me go and send myself an email. You know, I every time I really chelating, it's called chelating diet. Oh, I sent it to myself. I'm going to go over, I haven't finished it, but I'm going to go over so just some of the things I've started, and I will give this spreadsheet to you. And you don't actually have to have my spreadsheet. You can there are a lot of, well, you can get this information if you have a naturopathic doctor, and then there are a lot of MDs that are also naturopathic doctors. So let me go chelating diet. You know, one of the things I did as I was, you know, when I started going through menopause, there were some things I knew I wasn't going to do. My mind was already made up. And and so, you know, and so I started looking at my options. And that's when, you know, doing that is when I really determined in my heart that I was going to become I was going to eliminate animal products. And even more now so because of all of the hormones that they're putting in them in the animals, and it's just sad. Some of the conditions of our animals, how they're cared for, it's just horrendous. It's just, you know, it makes you, to me, I start thinking, and I didn't always think this way, right? But I've never seen cruel treatment of animals. And I remember once I started thinking, I said, God, how far has the human mind, the human character just strayed away from you that we can just so, you know, just not, I mean, yeah, it ah,
But we treat human beings horrifically. So for them to treat animals like that for money is
yeah,
no different because
right,
they have more of an excuse. Well, they're for to eat, and this is what's going to the masses. A lot of
yeah,
people don't realize how barbaric it
right,
is,
yeah,
and the testing on the animals, the cruelty of it, because they don't care about what happens to human beings. So
right. Yeah,
the
you're right,
animals,
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
simple
you're
for
right.
them.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to go over a little bit. I have put all of the, and this is not an exhaustive list, but it will give you some ideas of things that um you can start doing on your own. But one of the things is is that there is a test that you can ask your doctor to do. And if you have a good rapport with your doctor, you know I do it mine, and whatever, and I go to Adventist Health here, and and I have a very good relationship with my doctor. She is a female doctor, and what I feel like I need, she is more than, she doesn't feel that it's unreasonable. I mean, they're very, in fact, she loves it. I mean, she says, I wish I had more patients like you. So there are doctors that really want to see their patients to take ownership of their health and to be not just active, but even proactive in their health and doing, just making some lifestyles or bringing in some lifestyle strategies that will help them live or have more quality of life. So chelation, let me just share mine. And this is not, again, I hope that, let me do a share. There are studies that I'm planning on adding to this. The studies that were done for some of these, there are some studies And then there are some studies that have been made that have been done on I think one of the studies, that case studies we went over tonight, it was not a human study, but it was done, was it a rat? A lab rat? But it was an animal. And I don't know that I even believe in that. But anyway. All right, so let me see. Can you see my screen? So these are chelation. These are and what I looked at, it's not necessarily chelating diet, but these are chelating foods. And if what you want to look for, I put a few here, foods that are fiber rich. And here in this, I'm going to tell you what constituency for avocados, what constituency within that avocado. One of the things when it comes to heavy metals detox, it must have something to bind. You cannot detox heavy metals just by juicing. There must be something that metal has to bind to something. And so avocado, and simply because these are some of my favorites, and these are some of the recommended in the industry of health and wellness. And here I'm, indicating why. But again, you don't want to do anything, especially if you have a condition. You want to make certain that whatever you do, you're consulting with your healthcare professional. If you're on medication, you can't just do anything. I don't care how healthy it is. You have to, because there's some foods, even within in our normal diet, there are some foods that will block some of the constituencies in your medication. So you have to be really careful if you're on medication, if you're under the care of a physician. So anything that you do want to make sure that you consult with your healthcare professional. Berries is another one. And it's the antioxidant. And it's not going to be one product alone. So don't just think you can just do avocados. This has to be things that will be incorporated into your diet. Either, one of the things I like the avocado is that even studies shows where the liver, that is really good for that liver support and detoxification, which is really, really critical to make sure that we're eliminating the toxins within that, including heavy metals from your liver. Berries, and these are just a few fiber rich, but the key is not necessarily the food that I'm looking at. It is fiber rich foods. And of course I did black beans, and again, they have a binder, and that is the key. They must have a binder. Artichokes, lentils, quinoa. There was another thing in quinoa, and I think I put it here. What the other thing is, and in this particular column, I did indicate that even though, for instance, while quinoa fiber content and other nutrients can support the body's natural detoxification process, it should not be considered a substitute for medical treatment for heavy metal toxicity. You want to make sure that testing has been done, and for that toxicity, that you're working with your doctor. And like for me, I probably would, before I would take the medical chelation, there is a procedure. I would say, doctor, can you give me like 30, 60 days to do this? Let me try this, and then come back and retest me. And if my results have not improved, then I may be open to, the other treatment. So just try some of those things with your doctor. I think that you'll find that they're really open and they're willing to work with you. This is the thing that I thought was really interesting: nuts and seeds, but specifically Brazil nuts. And you only need 1 to 2 nuts per day of that Brazil nut. You do not, because they have something called selenium in them, and you don't want to increase. You want to be careful that you're not getting too much selenium, but just 1 to 2 Brazil nuts a day. I kind of I thought that was cool. And then dietary fiber, I've already went through that. And each one of these, I'm explaining how in that particular fiber, what is happening and what it's binding to. Now, some of the other thing is that you have to be aware of is what type of metals, because there's a metal called cadmium. And so cadmium, it's going to need more. There's a certain level of specificity of foods that it will need, or therapy. Foods that are high in sulfur, that's another foods. And some of the And here I tell you why. Some of the foods that are high in sulfur are going to be your cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, garlic, onion, shallots, cruciferous foods, foods that are high in vitamin C, um, foods containing amino acids, and herbs. I identified, and this is not, there are other herbs that I'm going to get. There are certain herbs. And so this is going to be a combination of the usage of these foods. You're not going to hone in on one particular food. It has to be a diversity, and you want to do a combination of these foods, like as you're mixing your herbs with your other foods that you're eating, you know, um, and like throughout the day, the fruits, and specifically here it said green apples. So this list you really want to pay attention to, because this particular list is provided, and let me say, by naturopathic doctors that have actually has seen more results with these particular type foods than others. Are there any questions? Comments? No?
Just ask yourself.
Sister Shani? Sister Denise, are you there?
No, I'm here. I'm just listening.
Okay.
No, I'm just
No
listening.
questions or add any additions?
No, just taking it all in. A lot of it, we have definitely heard about a lot of the different types of vegetables that, like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, and that are good for to clean up your body and to build your body up. And like you said, we just have to do different foods. I know I'm doing that now with different types of food, because I have, ever since I had COVID, I got COVID in my gut. So that became a weak point for me. So I've had to be very cognizant of what I eat.
Yeah.
And going back to the deodorant stuff, I noticed that when the diet is correct and your body is clean out, nothing smells. I mean, you can go to the bathroom, your odor, your body has been smell because you're eating,
Yeah.
you can tell, you can gauge your body health a
Yeah.
lot of, by what comes out, sweat, or, when we eliminate all of that, tells us how our body is. But it's good for us each to know this, because we all need to share these principles that you're sharing with us. I guess we're all aware that a lot of people are going to be losing their Medicaid. Millions of people are going to suffer a lot of food um, shortages now because of what just happened today, or last night, or whatever, that they passed this bill. So a lot of people do need to know how to really hone in on the healthier foods to eat that will give you better nutrition, and then to cut all the snacks out. I think this is a good time for people to just eliminate a lot of junk from their diet, and
Yeah.
to learn how to do container growing. I mean, I have a moringa tree growing outside. I've got and I have them in big pots. So, and I have some fruit trees. So there are things that we can do to help ourselves, even in the small apartments. And it's good to know principles like what you're talking about,
Yeah.
to push against a lot of the, food insecurities that are already here, but it's going to get even worse.
Yeah.
So I just pray that we can spread this out and get develop a program,
Right.
like we were talking about with the farmers. I guess realized the Texas farmers are now, their crops are rotting as well, and there's no one to pick the crops, and so they're rotting.
Yeah.
But there's food there, that
Yes.
people need the food. So if it's there, and we develop this program that we were talking about, and then teach people, and it's just something you can pass on. Churches can do it themselves,
Right.
and
Yeah.
get the people together so that they can um, have these fresh fruits and vegetables, and and all this toxic junk that they're trying to push on especially the neighborhoods where people are
Yeah.
most vulnerable. They don't have,
Right. Right.
what do they call them? Food or waste, I forgot what they call the
Food
deserts.
deserts?
Where,
Food
yeah,
deserts?
food
Yeah.
deserts. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. But I think the first thing that has to happen in these areas, I do feel that education is so needed because
Absolutely. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying, right? A program that people on
right,
every level, because when you go
right,
into these places where there's food deserts and they're like, well, what are we going to eat? You
right,
know, how are we going to survive? We have to
right.
really know what we're,
Yeah,
talking about to even
right.
bring that, because sometimes that's the only thing that they have for miles
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
eat.
Actually, a young couple here, I met them, was it 2015? 2015, and they were telling me about their dream. And they wanted to start planting a garden. And what they wanted to start doing, at some of these, it's kids within the neighborhoods. You know how those kids, they do nothing but run around the streets and play all night. And they wanted to start teaching. They were going to start teaching these kids farming practices. And you know what? They did it. It's in the inner city. It's in the inner city of Kansas City, Missouri. And they have a beautiful, they were able to raise money and get it going. And they do use it. It's so, I tell you, they bring, I mean, little kids in and they're for them to learn farming. And even in farming, there's so many object lessons. And I was thinking, how can we take that model? Because, and I think one of the things in educating minorities and those of the lower income, show them that you have everything you need within you to survive. All you have to do is stir it up. You can survive. Come together as a community and create your own garden. Make this a community. It can be about community, and this could bring communities together. Learning how to
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Learning the herbs that you can use to plant within your gardens to fight against pests and other things so that you don't have to consort or, go to all of these pesticides and chemicals in your gardening. So this is, I think that this could, in helping them understand all of especially for the children, because as I said, this is the population is that it's almost like they're just the innocent bystanders, right? And they are, and just, starting at a younger age, understanding any type of toxins within. Sounds like a children's series on my, yeah, that's right. That is right, Sister Jerry. A children's city series on my back. Yes, that would be awesome.
Definitely
The
want to
edu
have the children involved. You definitely
yeah,
want the children
yeah,
involved.
yeah. Educating the children and getting them involved in this, I think, is also a way of making change, because change starts when we make that change. It starts with us, with our children, and carrying it on, and then pregnant women, and helping them understand it's so critical that even within Planned Parenthood, you plan your pregnancy. Because once you get pregnant, you have no business detoxing anything. You do not detox, period. But bringing and that's one of my specialty areas, is working with husband and wife, or working with couples and helping them prepare their bodies um for pregnancy, so that and it will require doing some of that the testing of the heavy metals, and then doing as much of that detoxing as they can, to make sure that, especially understanding from their body, that's why we need the test, to understand from their bodies which ones that they need to hone in on, which are the most critical, that will cause the most damage to your children in childbirth. And making sure, teaching mom through pregnancy how to maintain a good healthy diet of fresh foods. One of the things I would like to do is that, in putting that program together, how can we partner with food banks and even with our own churches that have their pantries? We need to give the people more fresh food. They need food,
It's
real
true,
food.
but right. But see, what's happening is that there is a food scarcity, which is
Yeah.
coming. It hasn't hit us as much, I mean, yet, because the effects of it. Well, you have layers of things that are happening that are going to affect us by say August, September, October, and that is a lot of the immigration, people are going on the farms, taking people off, and we talked about that earlier, where the crops are rotting. They're doing a lot of studies on it, and yet there are ways that we were talking about, that we can partner. It has to be a boots on the ground, grassroots mission, coupled with the fact that you have to have the education like what we're talking about right now. And then also knowing that millions of people are going to be taken off of their health care, well, then you really need to take care of yourself, your children, yourself. So here are all the reasons why we see what's happening, but this is what's actually happening, and this is what we pray to God that we can do about it. And I believe that in the inner cities will be a little bit more difficult, but if they can be taught through the churches to, or through different school system, whatever, because they're actually bothering that as well. They don't want the kids to have education. They're taking money away from the schools. But to be able to have agriculture and bring that back, as much as we can, and share, and just get into a mindset of sharing, because that's what it's going to really come down to.
Yeah, it is.
It's here. I mean, like, people don't realize it's here already.
And we're going to have to start teaching communities to be self-sufficient,
Exactly.
and even like, self-sufficient, and still be able to, I think that is more critical. And then the children, how to keep our children, keep those brains nourished and those bodies growing and developing. And because I mean, I don't know this. I guess I had never really thought about it. It makes me cry. It does. It just makes me cry to think that we have just, I think, I just, sometimes I feel that we as a healthcare, we have let our people, we have not served. We have, but healthcare, again, I know that healthcare is about making money, not about saving lives. And not about, there were, I can appreciate the doctors and the healthcare system when I grew up, because then you had doctors that really cared, and I can't even imagine the doctors in the age that they used to pay house visits that really cared. But, with litigation and so much stuff, I think that doctors don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say they don't care. It just, because of the type of world we live in, it puts everyone at risk, and that risk causes, even within the healthcare professionals, to build up boundaries around them and safeguards, I guess you will. And in that, we can lose, there's just some things, because I knew doctors when they would not use forceps. They knew how to turn, gel their hands, turn that baby in utero, that they wouldn't have to do a C-section. But we lost that we lost it because of just the doctors, new generations came along, were taught new things, and the doctors weren't able to pass those things along. So things change within our world, within our society and our communities. And then I think with that change, I think more and more healthcare professionals, they just don't, because the care hurts. And I can understand that. The care, about a mom, you're breastfeeding your baby, passing all this junk, all these metals into your baby's body just by breastfeeding, or even through the placenta. And they don't know, right? They don't understand. They don't know. A lot of them haven't even been taught this. But hopefully we can do some education and help those, and help some who are willing to be helped. But anyway, I think it sounds like, yes. Yeah, some good comments. I hope this has been helpful. And I know that this is just hitting the surface. There are so many studies of all of the adverse effects of endocrine disruptors. And I think now that we have a little bit more understanding, and I do believe that this has to be affecting some of the young people who are dealing with sexual orientation issues, right? I really do. And yeah, it's just, but anyway, I hope that's been helpful, and I hope that it will give us insight onto how, we can continue to make an impact, or we can put together programs to make an impact in those environments that are vulnerable to these things and need the education, but not just education is not enough. They need resources and they need tools. We need to give them tools and resources in order to become self-sufficient and to fight and get their health back and to retain it regardless of their socioeconomic status. And I think that that is doable.
Well, I believe with the health message, I mean, we have the health message, and that is the right arm of our ministry. We need to
Right.
remember how that even came about. Like, what years did that even happen? We
Right.
also, going back to the pandemic busters, that program we're getting ready to do,
Yeah.
about how when the Spanish flu came out, how the Seventh-day Adventists, not one of them died or got sick
Yeah.
by what they did. And so that's a great educational tool that we're going to be doing. That's, one of the steps. But
Yeah.
coupled with some very practical everyday things that people can do
Yeah.
that are affordable. And then it's going to teach people, like, you're going to have to be really responsible for being a good steward, because you're not going to have money for junk. You're going to have to,
Right.
and nonsense. You're going to have
Right.
to really buckle down and feed your kids and yourself some healthy food, because things are changing. But we
Yes.
have the health message. God already gave it to us. We just have
That's
to
right.
just come back
Yeah.
around
That's right.
very
That's right.
stronger than ever.
That's right. That's right. And showing people that we do care, about your community. We care about your health, and we do want to make a difference. And I think that I read a study that was done in a low income community. And that survey, it kind of measured how many were open to lifestyle changes, and I was surprised. Quite a few were. So that was hopeful for me, because sometimes within some communities, they're not, oh, I'm not interested. They may not believe in it. And again, they may not believe in it, but it was good to see, because that was one of the things, I was thinking about, what type of, how will we be accepted? Will we be accepted? Can we make a difference? Because us making a difference also has to do with how open our the recipients are, how the hearers, the communities in which we're going into, how open they are to health and wellness and are ready to make, even if they're small changes. And that's the thing, and letting them know. I think the big thing too, again, letting them know they have help and they have resources, and we have given them tools. But the results of this survey was really it was really encouraging to me. It was very encouraging. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I hope that you gleaned some information. As soon as I finish putting the spreadsheet together, I'll send it out to each one of you. And you can download it. You can do what you want with it. You can add to it. You can do your own research with it. But again, if you're concerned about your body, there is testing that can be done, and your doctor can assist with that. You can get a test kit, and I think it's hair, particle of your hair, do your own testing, if you want. When I looked at them, they're not that expensive, but the thing is, the treatment for it, you do want to work with your healthcare provider in coming up with a good treatment that's going to work for you. And you do want to be under healthcare supervision during that treatment, even if it's through diet, because detoxification can make you sick. That's why it's so important that you be under the direction and care of a healthcare professional, the guidance, because you can get sick, and you want that protection there. So thank you everyone for joining. Again, I hope that this has been, and the recording will be available if you want to go back and listen to it, look at it. If you want something to add to it, just let me know. But
I
we will
want to ask
continue.
you. I want to ask you a quick question. Remember, I asked you about that foot bath detox
Yes.
for the heavy metals. Were you able to look into that?
You know what? I didn't but I would get with my doctor this week. She lives here. Actually, she's an Adventist, and she would tell me the name because I've done one. I used to do it with her. I've done everything. And in fact, I will text her, and she
Yeah,
knows
'cause
the
I've
exact
done it.
thing
I
it
just
has to
don't know
have.
if it was the, like I've done it a couple times, but I just don't know if it's, I mean, a lot of stuff did come out and you saw the little things and a whole bit, but I wanted to just make sure that that's something that we can do even.
And I think even that, I don't know if she's actually, she was a chiropractor. She's a chiropractor that practiced naturopathic, but she was very good. I mean, she could not order blood tests, but I mean, exams, but we could have our exams sent to her. She most certainly could read them. And I know that I know what it did works because I took my sister was critically ill. And even her doctors didn't want, I mean, she was critically ill. And Tess gave her that foot bath, and she was just looking at the water, was telling her everything that was going on in her body. And sure enough, my sister um, ended up being hospitalized for the exact same thing that, and I want to say a few months, simply because she did not take precaution. And the doctor, her MD actually did not, she just wouldn't listen. He wanted her to make lifestyle changes. She did not make them. And this led her into almost dying, actually. And at one point, even her MD told her, I don't even want you to be my patient anymore, because she wouldn't let go of the sodas and all of the other stuff that she was doing, and but they work. The foot bath work. But I will text her, and I will put in either, you want me to post it and give Manna, or just send it to you personally, Sister Shawnee.
It could be in Give Manna so everybody can have it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I will do that. All right. All right, I will get that information. Again, thank you. So hopefully next time, not next week, because next week is oh, what's her name? Maria. She'll be on next, Maria. So the next time we get together, I want to do something fun, because this was very disturbing for me. Even, I know it's education, even just going through it is very disturbing, because I can see, I see the vulnerabilities, those risks, those I don't know. It just hurts to see our children, you know, that are becoming, they're just, but anyway, but then, yeah, you understand. So the next time we come together, I'm going to do something fun, like a healthy food demonstration. And I have this new healthy dessert that I made for my friend that was over the weekend. And it's gluten-free, and I put berries in it. It's made with almond flour. And it was so good. It was so good. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Very easy to make, not a lot of, didn't need a lot of ingredients. Very easy to make. So so the next time we come together, which would be 2 weeks from today, we're going to be on a happier note. So show some of those good foods that can help in our, maintaining and helping with some of the detoxifications of our bodies, high in fiber and all the good stuff that we need. So y'all have a good rest of your evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see everybody tomorrow night on Power Wednesday.
God bless everyone.
God bless.
Night, night.
So,
And
Blessings,
just remember to
everyone.
get with
All righty, good night.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sis Jackie. Bye-bye.